down this thing. Yeah. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the flow playing, got it all band. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, inspire, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Welcome back to 5 on the Floor Live. I am your host, Greg Sylvander. Tonight's floor plan, we are going to dissect another Miami Heat loss to start the 2022-23 season. They lose to the Boston Celtics 111-104. But before we dive into that mess, although it's not all a mess, so like we're gonna make these commenters calm down because I already see what's taking place there, but it was a mess. I do want to get into a little bit about what we're doing here at 5 Reasons Sports with the postgame show. I know on opening night it was a little bit of a scramble. There was some confusion as to what was taking place on the channel. I was supposed to host a Miami Heat Beat crossover episode. I have been down with flu-like symptoms, so I did not make that episode. G stepped up in my place. Thank you for that. So there was a little confusion on opening night. Just to let you know, you will see faces like myself, Sean Rochester, Brian Fonseca, Ethan Skolnick, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk as we go along. But then we're going to mix in. This is the super dope thing about collaborating with my favorite other Miami Heat entity, because it's where I started Miami Heat Beat. So as we get rolling here, I want to first introduce Brian Fonseca. Follow him at Brian Fonseca NY. Sean Rochester, who we call a coach at S Rochester NBA, and our guest co-host that we are so happy to have on the program because you are going to keep us honest, and we appreciate that. Tiffany Meeks of Miami Heat Beat. Follow her on Twitter at Tiffany Meeks23. Thank you for being here and joining us despite the loss.
Oh, thanks for having me.
For sure. So I hope that you'll come back when we get a victory, because I don't know how fun this is going to be. But so let's start here, y'all. Before we get into anything else, I want to tell you all about our great sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network postgame show, and that's Insurance by Lynette. So this is who you're going to want to reach out to. Aggressive Insurance. She will go to bat for you, whether it be a traffic violation, any other insurance consultation that you need to make sure that you're taken care of and that you have somebody working in your best interest. She is a friend of the program. Check her out at 954-581-8800. Again, that's the insurance agency that works for you. Aggressive Insurance, 954-581-8800. Speaking of 0-0, I wish that was still the Heat's record to start the season, but they're 0-2, y'all. And this is a tough one. So Chicago was kind of like it was a third quarter, and Lowry obviously didn't look good. This was a game where I felt like it just was a situation where you really saw that size is a issue for the Heat, and also the lack of just, I guess, playmakers, bucket getters, those guys that can go above and beyond, impose will, and just get buckets like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were doing. Tiffany, I would like to start with you for just your primary takeaways from this game, the things that you saw that jumped off the page to you as we watched game number 2 of 82 in this Miami Heat season.
I think you said it first. We're small. So, and when you got get rebound, that means that you are leaving yourself susceptible to teams running up and down the court on you. Because if everybody's hitting the boards, nobody's back. That was one of the things. Our defense is it's not on a string, which it usually is. And I don't know if that's because we have lineups that aren't traditional lineups yet. So these guys are still trying to figure it out, where to be, how to be. And also our better defenders are a year older. So let's also take that into stock that as the season wears on, the bodies just get older. So I don't really know what to take of our defense. I expected better defense from Jimmy, Bam, Kyle, Caleb, Max. Like I expected better. And there were just moments where they all looked lost at different points in time in the game.
So true.
So that's a little bit concerning. I do kind of feel like if this is what it's going to be, especially if Vic will be in and out the lineup, at some point they can mash together better defensive units. I think they can. I'm not going to say they're going to be, top 5, but I think the defense can get better at some points. I like the combination of of Gabe and Kyle in the backcourt at times.
Me too.
Especially if Kyle's going to play defense like he did tonight. Gabe is small, so that means you're going to obviously have to help, but he can get into his man, which means it gives Bam more time if he needs to roam that baseline in the back and forth to kind of help. And it gives Jimmy also help in the passing lanes because Gabe can get into his man. I like that too. I won't talk so much right now. I'll pass the baton, but yeah.
No, but that's a great passing point because I thought that the Kyle Gabe lineups were super interesting and they were effective. But overall, when you look at the defense, I mean, when the Heat got, 13 more field goal attempts. I'm just I'm box score watching. People used to slander folks on Twitter for doing this. The Celtics shot 42% from 3, 52% from the field. So to Tiffany's point, there's a concern about the defense to some degree in this game. Sean, the other thing that jumped out at me is the way that Spo just completely shelved the rotation and essentially played 7 players tonight. And so the thing that I kind of always felt like was, okay, you can get over the lack of playmakers and shot makers if you're shooting well. The Heat shot 30% from 3 tonight, so they didn't shoot well. And then you can get over the fact that you're not that tall by playing your depth, which then they abandoned tonight. Sean, what do you make of that he shrunk this bench? Do you think it's just a tight game kind of situation? Or are we seeing that the Heat are not necessarily maybe as ready to be deep as we think that they'll be later on in the season?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the depth, I mean, obviously some of the foul trouble led to having to play guys more than they needed to in the first half, going away from the rotation. But, I think in the second half, shelving Highsmith, Dedmon, and Duncan, those 3 didn't do anything in the first half. So I think the 7 guys he played were appropriate. I don't think that there was anyone glaring. I mean, I know there's a lot of people calling the name Jovic, but I mean, at this point, he hasn't shown his card that he's going to put him in the rotation. So I don't think we're at that point. But, I just think last game, it felt like, what was the problem, offense or defense? And the answer was yes. This game, to me, it was the offense wasn't great, but the defense, I jokingly posted a video of shell drill. That's how we got to break it down. These guys are just getting blown by. The ball's getting wherever they want by a pass or a dribble by the Celtics. The same thing happened in Chicago. I get that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are very good players, but anybody is getting to their spot. The ball is finding the open man. Yeah. We're not good at the point of attack until late in the game. Gabe, he brought that energy, and I think it bled into everybody else. We got to have more of that. Yeah. He's going to bring that. He'll play more. Same thing with Oladipo when he's healthy. But it's frustrating right now because there's not a lot of great things happening, but the defense right now is just mind-boggling. We're too used to good defense as part of our Heat culture. It's got to be better.
I know. And this is the thing. I guess to start the season, I would want the offense to be a little further than the defense because I feel like the defensive habits, and Brian and I have talked about this on previous shows, how eventually those habits will start to manifest themselves in just the way that this team plays. But then when you look at just the athletic disadvantage on some of this stuff, it gets a little concerning because you see guys really busting their ass trying and it just didn't manifest itself in these guys playing well enough to get a victory against another tough team. I felt like Boston essentially exploited a lot of what they exploited. in the playoffs. Brian, what were your primary takeaways from the game? And also just lean into Bam Adebayo a bit, because I felt like he was one of the bright spots tonight. Obviously, nobody with 5 turnovers is slander free, but plus 20 bucks plus minus in a game like this. I felt like he had an efficient game. Maybe could have done a little bit more, but what was your key takeaways overall? And then just your thoughts on Bam Adebayo.
Well, one thing I'm not going to do is just absolutely wild out, because it's not even Halloween yet. So I know people want to already ship this team off and trade damn near everybody, including, Jimmy and Bam, and get Victor Wembanyama. We're not doing that tonight, because it just got to October 21st. That's crazy. What I will say is that some of the things that I was concerned about going into the season, we've seen them exploited a little bit. I like the idea of trying to start small, and in order to do that, you need to play fast. They can't start small and not play fast. And Caleb Martin, God bless him, he's not going to be in the starting lineup to me at the end of the season. We've all talked about how that's probably going to materialize. And one of the things that's concerning for me is, just like tonight, you're going to get out rebounded a lot, because it's not even just being small. It's also that Bam Adebayo, because he's switching on to everybody, is going to be out on the perimeter when opposing shots go up. Therefore, who's going to get the rebounds? And you're talking about Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry and guys just barreling into guys like Al Horford and Grant Williams, and you're not going to win that strength battle time and time again. And you're going to get out rebounded. They were out rebounded 43-36 as of at least the last minute of the game. I'm not sure if that changed, because the game was over at that point. Didn't really matter. Also, points in the paint. I wanted to look up second chance points. Didn't get a chance to. It felt like the Celtics had a lot of second chance points, but points in the paint, the Celtics had about 52. That's almost half of the points that they scored for the game. And that's something that's not very Miami Heat like. And that's something that, again, when you switch out Bam onto the perimeter and he's guarding Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, whoever, who's going to be home? And Caleb Martin, again, love him, but that's not going to be the solution long term. I want to see Nikola Jovic personally. I don't think he's going to clean up all those problems, but that's also because Greg and Sean, y'all know, because I said this on draft night, I was high on him before the draft even happened. And I was saying he's going to be one of the best players from this draft class, and I couldn't believe that he fell all the way to 20, whatever the fuck it was. So I think that Nikola Jovic is going to be good once he gets a chance to play. But the defensive intensity, it's not really there yet. And then also, they have Toronto tomorrow, and then on Monday, if I'm not mistaken, at home.
Great.
And that's not the team I want to see if I'm 0-2 right now. That's what I'm going to say. And to answer your question about Bam, Greg, much better than game one. It could only have gone up. You know what I mean? From that standpoint. Still want to see him sharper defensively, but I think that might be more of a team thing also to some extent. And I just think that a lot of what we're seeing from him, it's going to come. There are people in the chat, which we're going to get to super chats because we've got a bunch. We're going to get to those. There are people in the chat saying that, Bam's maxed out. This is what he is. He was hitting mid-range jumpers today to start the game. And that's not something we've seen him do routinely. And that's something that Sean and I talked about this in terms of people want him to add a corner three, whatever the case may be. No, I think the main thing you want to see from Bam is the mid-range jumper and also the quick decisions. And the reason why you want the mid-range jumper in particular is because what happened? He made 2. Then Al Horford had to get a little bit closer. Then he used his speed to go right by him. You want to see him do that all season long. So props to Bam for that.
Can I just tag in?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So the problem that you're going to have with if Bam literally stays in that area, Jimmy can't get off.
Mm-hmm.
2 games now, Jimmy can't get off. Jimmy can't get to his mid-range because Bam's in the way. Tyler's in the way. Kyle's not cutting. The reason why you want Bam to take that shot, hit or miss the 3, is to just get the hell out the way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can't be in the paint. Cute and all that keep publishing Tyler. It's cute. But the reality is Jimmy plays with force, whether it's getting to the basket, whether it's the mid-range, whether it's that 3 that we're always no. Okay, good shot. But there's a different element to when he's scoring. So you want Tyler and Jimmy to play in a tandem. Meanwhile, you want Bam being able to get you and let's be realistic, between 15 and 20 points, you want at least 10 rebounds and stout defense. This is what you need. But if you don't get Jimmy going, because I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to get people going. He's trying to get Tyler comfortable. But worry about Jimmy at this point. Tyler can get shots, and now he's showing he can play off ball. So what I need Tyler to do is come off the ball. I need Jimmy to establish himself because Tyler can shoot. The one thing he's not going to forget how to do if he doesn't have the ball is shoot. So we gotta be honest and say it's okay for Bam to take 2 threes a game if he's opening up space for Jimmy. Because Tyler's going to be okay. Like, that's the thing we need to stop worrying about. Tyler's offense is going to be the offense. He's going to get it whether he's starting or he's on the bench. You're not going anywhere if you've got Jimmy not taking the mid-range that he needs to take. If he's just throwing his body into people and he's getting 11 free throws, he's not going to make it to the end of the season.
It's such a great point because even like if you look game over game, Jimmy basically saved his game against Chicago by going 14 of 16 from the line, which obviously is not sustainable from a physical perspective, as Tiffany alludes to. Tonight, he didn't shoot a damn free throw. So, like, that's another point, like, if he's not in the spaces that they need him to be in. And I think a lot of this is going to get worked out as the season goes. But you're right. Like, it's a unique scenario where these guys kind of need to operate in similar spaces at this particular time. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out go forward. The other guy I want to get to before we go to a quick break is Caleb Martin. So we kind of round out the starting lineup here. Oh, wait a minute. Did we really touch on Kyle? We haven't gone to Kyle yet.
No, we didn't.
No.
So, Caleb, hold up. We need to talk about Kyle Lowry. So, after game one, I have to be really honest with you guys. I don't feel good about Kyle Lowry. I don't feel great about just kind of his overall approach to this season, this team, this organization. That it concerns me. Tonight, he's looked a lot better. Sean, I'll pivot back to you here. What did you see that you liked from Kyle? To me, there's still something off. I don't know what it is. And like, y'all can tell me that I'm overreacting and being an alarmist, and I'll take that criticism back. But like, what did you see from him that you liked tonight? And also, what the hell, like, am I on to something here in terms of the way that he looks?
Well, I think our best offensive option is that brush screen right off his ass. That seems like that's the most open we can get on the offense. Just run guys off of him. It got Jimmy a wide open dunk. I don't know if that's sustainable though, but he, statistically he was better tonight. He's still, to me, that getting downhill part is perfect, but when he gets down there, it's almost like he over penetrates. He could shoot that floater that Tyler's so good at. He gets down into the rim and he doesn't know what to do with it. He wants to up fake. He doesn't have the athleticism. He doesn't really have the size to use his body to create space, and he gets stuck down there with nothing to do. We need him. I mean that's the bottom line. You need him or someone to be able to be the head of the snake, whether it's offensively or defensively. And while it's an improvement, I think we still need more. And I don't necessarily mean that he needs to do. I think tonight he had 17 points. I don't need that every night. I need him to initiate and create offense for other people, put them in the right spots and get the points elsewhere. That's fine if he gets 10 to 15 points. Just shoot open jump shots when they're there, but create for other people. A good sign to be better than it was for game one, but obviously not enough because we didn't get a win.
So true. And Kyle Lowry, to me, yeah, you played better tonight. I need to see more of it. When Kyle Lowry signed on the dotted line in Miami, to me, it was a situation where I knew he wasn't going to explode every single night. But I figured, if you're going to be paid the way that you're paid, occasionally you're going to get 30 here and there. You're going to get 26 here or there. And you're going to have those types of nights. Maybe not often, but maybe a couple times a month. And so, this performance, great. We need to see a lot more of it. I am not going to necessarily change my stance on Kyle Lowry. I am still concerned with how that plays out through the rest of this season. I have said my piece there. Manny, let's go to guts check.
I think everybody needs to get a grip. You got to stay together if you got the guts and you don't find the first door. and run out of it.
There are no obstacles. There's no obstacles. All there are accusations and opinions. We have done this since 1995.
We'll find out what we're made of here, if you got the guts.
This is Guts Check with Greg Sylvander.
New segment on the post-game show, Guts Check. I would like to, after every game, nominate a player that I feel like brought the guts, win, lose, draw. I feel like there's always somebody on the Heat that we can shout out. And this segment is sponsored by Water Cleanup of South Florida. With over 60 years of combined experience, Michael, Robert, and their team are prepared to handle any size disaster, leak detection issue 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. They have an emergency hotline so that you can get in touch with them immediately. They will work to find your leak, make sure it gets repaired, then clean, dry, and fully restore the damaged area. They are fully licensed, insured, certified, one-stop shop for every busy homeowner and business owner. Their service areas include Miami, Broward, Palm Beach County. Call Michael anytime on his personal cell, 954-579-0356. Again, that's Water Cleanup of Florida. Also, WCUFL.com, 954-579-0356. If you got the schmutz, they got the guts. So the Guts Check player of the game for me, y'all, this was not a hard decision once the second half was underway, and that's Gabe Vincent. I feel like we have a player who is rounding himself into starting point guard form. This is all I know. If Jay Will of 06 and if Damon Jones can be the Eastern Conference Final starting point guard on a team, if there's probably a few other guys that I'm not thinking of, Mario Chalmers, if he can be a starting point guard on a championship team, Gabe Vincent is trending in that direction. Tiffany, how are you feeling about me making a firm declaration that Gabe Vincent will be a starter in this league long term?
Oh, Gabe's going to be starting somewhere else next year.
Ooh, wow. How about we trade Kyle and keep Gabe? That's not where you want to go with this?
I didn't say that.
Fair.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying if things just play the way they're playing out, you can't keep everybody.
Very true. There's decisions to make. Brian, are you buying or selling Gabe Vincent as a player that can start for this team long-term down the road?
Isn't Mario Chalmers kind of the comparison? Right? Like in a good way.
Works for me.
Like in a good way, somebody who can play off of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and, whatever the equivalents of LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, like he can do that stuff, right? And Tyler Hero, like he can do that. My only thing with Gabe is I just wish he was a better like passer, like as a natural point guard. But I feel like that's something that is probably going to have to be part of his game at some point, but not necessarily because you also have Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler handling the ball. So maybe it's not as much of a focus, right? So I think that ultimately, like, yeah, he can become a starter in the league and on this team. I just think that, and this is a discussion for a later date, that Kyle Lowry contract is going to bring you back something, right? If you're moving it and it's $30 million, that gets you into some conversations. We could talk about some other salaries on the team, but like if you're doing that and you're not getting a point guard back, then that means maybe you solve the 4 issue and then it's just Gabe, Tyler, Jimmy, Bam, and whoever that 4 is. Maybe. I don't want to look too far down the line, but to answer your question, I would say yeah.
Let's tie a bow on this Celtics game because we all want to forget about it. This is the beautiful thing about NBA basketball, y'all, is that tomorrow they got another game, so we can either have our hearts broken again or we can feel really good about things, but at least there's another one coming up again. But as I'm catching notes here from our off the floor feed, this comes from Alex Toledo, that the Heat and Celtics ended up finishing the game with similar half court offensive rating, 96.8 to 98.9, but the Celtics won the transition battle and out rebounded the Heat by 7. Here's the key thing that I think is interesting, Sean. The Heat finished the game with 18 more mid-range shot attempts, but 8 less attempts from 3. Again, this kind of goes back to guys needing to operate in the same area of the floor and the offense feeling like it's a little disjointed. How do they fix that on the fly here? You're the coach, so I'm going to you for some X's and O's here. How do you fix that type of situation where it seems like like all your guys are trying to get shots from the same spots on the court.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was looking at cleaning the glass while we were talking, and the corner three has been non-existent. We basically haven't taken them in either of the two games, and we've had a low volume of three. 27% of our attempts tonight, 31% last night or 2 nights ago, and in previous seasons we really leaned into the three. So I don't necessarily think it's personnel. I mean, you still have guys that can get out there and shoot the ball, but I think, we talk a lot of times about the downhill and getting to the paint and putting pressure on the rim. That creates those opportunities a lot of times on the outside. You got to get inside before you can get outside. A lot of those mid-ranges I think would probably be Bam, Tyler, Gabe that were taking those shots, and I think they're good shots. I don't know. I can look it up while you guys are talking what we shot from those. It's roster construction. I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's a solution by tomorrow night like that. I don't think there's a button spoken press. So not that I say that we trade everybody, but I just think, I don't know. I'm kind of stumped in this point because, like I said at the beginning, there's so many holes in our ship right now. Which one do you plug first? Which one's the priority to kind of keep it afloat for a while?
Wow, we're not the sunshine pumpers you all thought that we would be, are we? What about Duncan Robinson? He could plug some of those holes from deep. Doesn't seem like they're trusting him though. It's an interesting thing.
Yo, Greg, he played 6 minutes tonight, and I don't remember seeing him at all.
Agreed.
Like, I legit don't remember seeing him at all.
Was it at the end of the game? It might have been when I was setting up.
He had a good DHO.
It was
first half DHO to Gabe, I think, for a 3, or Tyler for a 3, but yeah, pretty non-existent.
All right, we're going to grab some comments. We want to definitely get to the super chat comments, but then anything else interesting, we're going to rapid fire through here. But Tiffany, want to give you the opportunity. Any final thoughts? And then we'll just go around quick. Again, we don't need a diatribe, but just final thoughts from the entire panel here before we get into the questions.
Just thinking about like what Sean was saying. I think the first game, the ball seemed to be popping a lot more. It was touching more hands. So the shooters were able to shoot. This game, the shooters didn't get the opportunities that they got in the first game. And when they did, they weren't in rhythm. The passes weren't great. I noticed a lot of low passes, behind passes. And that's the thing. Everyone was complaining that the shooters aren't good. The shooters just didn't get the opportunities. Shooters are shooters, which means they depend on other people.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the role players, but the stars got to be better. Everybody's got to be better. I was just looking at a quote that Alex posted from Spo. It said, this was much different than game one. We were much more active. We're not looking for moral victories or anything like that. We're looking for progress that leads to wins. He talked about being more consistent, sustaining it, all the Spo-isms. You got an opportunity tomorrow. The Raptors lost tonight in Brooklyn. They got to travel down to South Florida. We're both on back-to-backs. I think they're 1-1 on the season. The Bulls lost today, so they're 1-1. You just got to find a way. No excuses. Just get a dub tomorrow.
Brian, how are you feeling about that Toronto game tomorrow?
I mean, look, they're traveling, right? So like, this is a no excuses. Like, don't lose this game. The first one against the Bulls, I thought was like not a good loss at all. But I also think like Zach LaVine being out kind of helps them a little bit. But that's another story for another day. And then with going back to this game, I also like we should acknowledge the Celtics are really good and the defending Eastern Conference champions. Like on top of all of this, like sometimes when you play the Celtics, shit like this is gonna happen. You're not gonna get into your sets. You're not gonna be able to get shooters open because also that's what they're trying to do defensively, and they're as good as anyone in the league at doing that kind of stuff. But against Toronto, not the team you want to face on a back-to-back, and not the team you want to face twice in 3 nights, but this Heat team is a contender, right? So these are the games you kind of have to win. And also Jimmy Butler played 40 minutes tonight. So monitor that going into tomorrow. See how that looks. I hope we see Nikola Jovic just to give it a different look and see what he can do against Toronto.
Me too. And 40 minutes, 0 free throws. No bueno from Jimmy Butler. That just can't happen. Manny, let's fire up these questions. We're going to go rapid fire. We'll go around the panel here and just answer them. I'm coming right back to you, Brian. This is yours.
Okay, Yanovis 16 says we have a hole at the 4, just like when we gave up Crowder. No energy, looks like a play-in team. All right. I'm not doing that again on October 21st. They do have a hole at the 4, though. I don't know if Jay Crowder in 2022, 2023 plugs that hole. Trading for Jay Crowder, getting him on a buyout, different story. I do think that they're going to address the 4 at some point this season, but they're going to have to figure out something until some trade restrictions get lifted in December, January, that being, Dwayne Dedmon's contract, because talking about people who aren't going to make it to the end of the season on this team, Dwayne Dedmon probably at the top of the list.
Yes, sir. Next question. Not having a real power forward is showing. Sean, these aren't really questions. These are statements. How do they fix this? I mean, is this a situation where we just have to essentially wait until the time that Brian's mentioning, this January timeframe, for them to plug that hole because they're not going to get any bigger anytime soon? Is Yurt fixing this when he plays?
I feel like this is like the Le Batard segment, see or no. The Heat need a 4. CCC. Oh yes, very intrigued. like Poppy.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, we need a 4. It's not Jay Crowder. It's not PJ Tucker, who everyone in Philly right now is tearing up on sports radio. They are so mad they spent that money. So be thankful. At least we didn't do that. But yes, we need someone in that spot. I don't know who it is, but the perfect 4 next to Bam exists out there somewhere. I'll just keep tweeting it out every day.
It could be Jovic. I'm just saying.
Eric Pascal, Larry Sanders.
I know it's only 2 games, but the lack of rebounding at 4 is not going away. We need to let go of a pick and put a package together for a player that can rebound and play defense. Patience, my friend. Patience. February. Next question for Tiffany, and then we close. This ain't a question. Give us another one. We have a great basketball mind, and Tiffany Meeks on this show. We need to pick her brain. Please find a good question. Here we go. I know this is game 2, but does the panel still think this team is okay compared to the rest of the teams in the East? Tiffany, okay. I think that you could give us some perspective there.
I mean, right now, yeah, they're okay in comparison to the rest of the teams. Nobody's like guns a-blazing. Not right now. Everyone has flaws. We saw the flaws tonight with Boston. We actually know what their flaws are. Things change on a dime when it's sports. So what you need right now is what we keep saying. This team just has to tread water. They just got to keep their heads up, and they just got to get a little bit better each game and literally hold on until somebody can go out there and find somebody stout that can play next to Bam. And listen, I don't have a problem if it's young Nicky Slim. But realistically, I'm trying to win. So give my boy some minutes, but go get a man.
And Udonis Haslam would be a man for all of our audio only. Sean Rochester's holding up the white home UD jersey as the perfect fit next to Bam. And you know what? There are moments, and there were moments last year where I thought, why the hell is he not just playing? What could be? I mean, we couldn't do any worse. So that'll be interesting as well. Thank you to everybody. How's that $170 million looking for Lowry and Duncan? It's looking like it's movable, just like every other sizable contract in the NBA.
Yep.
Truth be told, Lowry is the only guard on the team that plays his man off the ball well. Gabe, Tyler Struth drift off and allow massive passive lanes. It drives me crazy. I can see where that would drive you crazy. It's just instincts versus not having instincts.
Right.
Alfredo, thank you for definitely jumping in with some comments here. Don't forget to play Prize Picks, my favorite daily fantasy app. Use the code 5 to double your initial deposit up to $100. Use that code 5. That's the key to that thing. Great app, great desktop. My favorite way to play fantasy sports. That's Prize Picks. Use the code 5. Any final thoughts? I'm giving you all free reign. Any direction, albums that just dropped that you like, current events, one line or less, and then we cut up out of here. Nobody has nothing. See, that's the kind.
Okay, two points. One, to answer your album question, the Freddie Gibbs album. You already know, Greg. The second point. Eric Pascal, I mean, you could give him Drew Smith's 2-way contract. I'm just saying.
He's still young enough to get one. I'm with that. Sean, any final thoughts?
A shout out to us since we're not credentialed and we're making content in comparison to those guys on the Lockdown Warriors. Shout out to them.
That's a Twitter joke for people who weren't on Twitter today.
Wow. I didn't get it. Tiffany, any final thoughts?
No. Shout out to me for making my way back across the street.
That's what's up. We hope to have you back on the program again, along with many other Miami Heat beat folks. That is my fam, and I cannot wait to do more programming with you guys. Thank you for joining us. Again, check out all of our sponsors. We will be back tomorrow night with another post-game show. Not sure the crew yet, but I'm sure it'll be a fun one. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully we come out with a victory on this next one, y'all.